Hey everybody, welcome to our next module. So in this module, we're reading stories from two American women, both of whom are from marginalized groups in the United States. Alice Walker is an African American author, most known for her novel The Color Purple, which was made into a feature-length film. Her story is told from the perspective of the mother of two young women, Dee and Maggie. Both Dee and Maggie have different ways of coping with their past. Both their personal past, they both survived a fire at their previous house, and their family's past. They are poor sharecroppers in the Deep South. Maggie has scars from that fire, and she is withdrawn, quiet, and reluctant. Dee, who has decided to change her name at the start of the story to the more African Wangaro, is outgoing and ambitious. Dee is collecting old items from her mother's house to use as decoration in her new home. And she wants to take a quilt made from scraps of their ancestors' clothing, even a piece of fabric from an ancestors' Union Army coat. This quilt is a very meaningful symbol for all of the characters, but I think for different reasons. As you read the story, think about how Dee views that quilt and how Maggie, along with the mother who's narrating, may see it differently. Both Dee and Maggie demonstrate ways to view their family's past that includes the poverty that is the legacy of slavery. Dee has moved away from that identity at the cost of, I think, her authenticity. Maggie has maintained some of those old traditions. Remember, she knows how to quilt. But she's still living at home with her mother, while Dee is away getting a college education. So in the end, notice who gets to keep the quilt, and think about why that might be. Make sure you explain that in your discussion board post. The second story we're reading is from the Native American author Leslie Marmon Silko. She's a member of the Pueblo Laguna tribe, and she writes in this story about the struggles of a Native American woman whose family is broken up. The story consists largely of flashbacks to moments when Aya lost her children or when she was living with Chado before the children were taken away. These flashbacks occur as Aya is walking to go find her partner Chado, her partner, who we eventually learn is an alcoholic. What Aya experiences, in my reading of the story, is the effects of genocide. It's the destruction of a culture and a people and a way of life. Her children are taken away from her and taught to speak English, and so they forget their native tongue. Her husband is injured and can't work the meager manual labor job that he had previously, and he resorts to drinking. And it's unclear where they're living because they're unable to work. And they're essentially homeless. This is the result of the American effort to essentially wipe out the Native American population. With this in mind, the blanket that Aya holds in the beginning of the story takes on a lot more significance. This blanket that once belonged to her son is a well of memories. Look at the memories it evokes. Aya is walking to find Chado with this blanket wrapped around her against the snow and wind. She walks north down the road, this is a quote from the story, searching for the old man. She did this because she had the blanket, and there would be no place for him except with her and the blanket in the old adobe barn near the arroyo. End quote. So this blanket is holding them all together, what's left of her family anyway. So what would you say this blanket symbolizes in the story? And how is this related to the title of the story, Lullaby? So, in your discussion board post this week, analyze the blankets in both of these stories. The quilt that Dee wants to take from her mother in Alice Walker's story, Everyday Use, and the wool army blanket that Aya carries in Lullaby. Make sure you explain what each blanket symbolizes and how that is also related to the title of the story. So I look forward to reading your thoughts.